Okay, we are on. So hi, this is Ling Wong at businesssoulwork.com, where you can find thought-provoking, gut-punching content and resources to help you nail your message, claim your superpowers, and monetize your truth. In today's Expert Hangout, I'm super excited to introduce Kelly Eckert to you. I was introduced to Kelly last year, right around this time. I was intrigued. Who doesn't want to find out more about a Harvard-educated shaman with experience in marketing and art, right? So long story short, our background and experiences intersected at quite a few points: Harvard, art, coaching, marketing, and a passion for personal growth. I took her fear-releasing method certification training, and this material has helped me and my clients so much in growing ourselves and our businesses. I was also drawn to Kelly's work with spirit animals. It was kind of a new woo-woo kind of thing for me, but I took the plunge anyway, and I took her Power of Perspective training. I remember bat, seal, and hawk were particularly transformative for me, and this change in perspective literally jump-started the birth of this iteration of my business, which became businesssoulwork.com a few months later. So what does Kelly actually do? She guides people back to their own personal power, the strengths, the passion, and the challenges of who they really are. She teaches bio-spiritual tools to reconnect with the inherent magic of nature and the wisdom of the physical body. Kelly has innovated new applications for coaching and traditional shamanic practices, including branding with spirit animals, coaching with animal archetypes, and of course the fear-releasing method. While Kelly believes that the journey is the thing, she teaches practical spirituality for concrete success-based results. She has turned her background in anthropology, biology, art, and marketing into a career as an author, teacher, and professional speaker. She teaches from a core belief that destruction is an opportunity for profound creativity and innovation, both at personal level and at the global level. You can learn more about Kelly at theuntamedlife.com, and I will post the link under this video as well. So, hi Kelly, thanks for being here.
Hi Ling, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to chat with you like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know we're going to talk about perspective today, so let me just quickly set the stage before we turn over to you and talk about and ask you some questions.
Absolutely.
So as I mentioned earlier, I love Kelly's Power of Perspective series, so I want to have her talk to us about perspective today. This is also something near and dear to my heart because I know from my work with my own clients that when I help them change their perspectives, they are able to take control of their circumstances and get fired up about their businesses in a whole new way. So what's so special about Kelly's work is that she uses spirit animals to help us see things differently. And we're invited to drop our own personal biases and our lens, our filter, when we literally become a different animal. So Kelly, tell us, where are you? Here you are. Oops. Tell us what are spirit animals.
Spirit animals are animal archetypes that are with you in essence, not physically, and they're not dead animals. It is the essence of physical animals or mythical creatures from whom you borrow their gifts and experience their challenges as well. And then of course in the Perspective series, what I teach there is that you can see through their eyes. So we all have lifetime spirit animals or power animals that are with us for our whole lives. And we have others that come and go over time depending on what we're working on. So you can have your brand spirit animal, and you can have spirit animal for your relationships, and anything you can imagine, you could have a spirit animal helping you with that. And what we did in the Perspective Call series was actually call in very specific spirit animals to learn to see through their eyes. Because normally what I do is help people meet their natural spirit animals, whoever's with them right now. And the benefit of that is they already have that bond with you. So in many ways, they're easier to work with. Not always easy, right? Depending on who your animal is, but easier to work with. And in the perspective series, what we do is call in specific animals to learn to see from their perspective. And that helps us see, like you said, our businesses from a different perspective, through a different lens, see your relationships through a different lens. And I mean, we know how effective that is to get a different perspective on things, as coaches, right?
Absolutely. And so that is great. That's a really succinct explanation of the spirit animal. So just tell us a little bit about how can spirit animal help us change our perspective? Like, how does it work, and what is the sort of the advantage of using a spirit animal versus other methods?
Mm-hmm. So normally, there are a couple of things in coaching, at least, that we do to get people to change their perspective. One is this tool where you tell someone, let's go up into a hot air balloon 5,000 feet in the air and look back down at the situation. And that is really helpful, so it's to help you have this distance and this detachment so you can see from a more objective perspective. And less so in coaching, but in our regular day-to-day lives, when we talk about walking a mile in someone else's shoes, right, or seeing things from their perspective, we mean that we're really connecting with, okay, what would it feel like to be a homeless person? Or what would it feel like to, it's just awful things are coming to mind now. So, lose a family member, or, what would it feel like to be Richard Branson? Okay, there's something more positive, right? So we try to have that different perspective by imagining what it would be like to be that person, or what perspective of the world would we have if we were Oprah Winfrey or the Dalai Lama? So the advantage to using spirit animals for that is that when I imagine Richard Branson's perspective, my inner critic comes in and says, you are not Richard Branson. Who are you to think you could be Richard Branson? And in contrast, when I ask myself, what would it be like to see the world through the eyes of Weasel or a falcon or a lion? My inner critic doesn't say anything. It knows I'm not going to be one of those animals. So there's nothing for it to try to tear me down about or beat me up about. And instead it has fun with it because it gets your imagination and creativity involved. And then you can just sort of go wild with it.
Yeah, and we all know that using our creativities and imagination is really help us tap into our intuition to get into the inner knowing, right?
Absolutely.
If I have to imagine myself as the weasel, I can't take it seriously.
Yes. So when you just ask someone, what would the world look like from the perspective of a weasel? It's hard to do. We do start thinking about it, and we start imagining, well, I have these negative connotations of weasel. It's like sneaky and blah, blah. You could do it, but it's harder. What made it easier in the call series is that I guide you into, I do a guided journey or guided meditation with you. And so there, in that meditative state, it's easier to imagine because you're right there, and you're sort of becoming like that weasel and going around and seeing the world through its eyes, getting your brain totally out of the way so it doesn't have to try to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about getting the brain out of the way, because I think a lot of times is that when we try to change our perspective, it is our logical mind saying, oh, you can't do this, or no, it doesn't work this way, no, it's not done this way, it is supposed to be that other way. And by it's just by asking our logical mind to get out of the way or bypassing it, we will be able to tap into something deeper inside of us that sort of gets suppressed because we just don't allow it to come out and say something.
Very, very true. Yes. And what's so funny about you and me talking about getting our brains out of the way is we're both Harvard women. We got in and graduated with our brains.
I
And
know.
yet,
That's the brain.
and yet we know that our brains can be the biggest stumbling block too. Or like was it Einstein who said that our brain should be a tool or it should be a servant to the
Hmm.
master of intuition and imagination?
Yeah.
And that's what we need to get back to.
And I think it's very interesting for sort of for us to have that, to really go through that journey of being, like always logical, always stick to the brain, and then bam, something happens. It's like, you know what? It's just some sort of an illusion that I'm kidding myself that I'm actually in control all the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, absolutely.
And it has been very interesting to say, okay, let's bypass it and let's see what happens and just be open to it. And I think going in, using spirit animal or going through this journey is that we really need an open mind and say, okay, you know what, it's just 30 minutes. If it doesn't work, I go back to my life. And
Mm-hmm.
openness you can explore. And I think this try on for size kind of mindset, and I think using animal helps because you're not anchored to the physical world of like Richard Branson or whoever you want to model after. It's just like, it's a weasel. Damn it, it's a weasel.
Right. Exactly. There isn't, weasel, it's not this grand thing that we feel like we can never achieve. Or the other bad thing about role models, and I mean, I'm all for having human role models, but the other downside of them is sometimes they let us down. Like when you think about all the people who had or have Lance Armstrong as a role model, and then when it turned out that he had been using drugs or hormones, that let a lot of people down.
Mm-hmm.
Weasel doesn't let you down. It's a weasel. What can it possibly do to disappoint us,
Exactly. This is awesome. Okay. So, so we have talked about changing perspective. So, can just from your experience for yourself and you working with clients, tell us a little bit why changing perspective is so important for our businesses.
Whew, okay. So I'll give an example from myself and some spirit animals. So one of my main spirit animals is hawk. And hawk is really good. Just picture a hawk flying around. Really good at big picture visioning, right? Hawk also sees details, but hawk doesn't want to come in and see things up close. It wants to stay back and be observing from here. Can point out the details. It's like, stay up here. So in your business, that's great. In the book, The E-Myth Revisited, and so I forget who wrote it, but he talks about 3 roles that entrepreneurs have to take. One is the visionary, another is the manager, and the other is the craftsman, the artisan, the one who is actually the technician. That's what it was. So hawk would be like the visionary, right? Hawk is not good at managing or at necessarily executing the details. Hawk doesn't necessarily make a good technician. So for entrepreneurs in our business, what are we going to do to fulfill those other 2 roles of managing and manager and technician? If you have if you're a visionary, then you can either hire someone to do both of those, or you need to be both of those yourself. So figuring out the spirit animals that can represent manager and technician can really help, because then when you need to shift roles, you just connect with that spirit animal, and now all of a sudden you can see things from their perspective and more easily take action.
So who do you call?
Ooh, there are lots of different. So for technician, I would call in beaver. We always think busy as a beaver. They actually don't start working in advance. So beaver's great for me. I like working to a deadline. I'm really good at doing all the work at the last minute. That's what beaver does. Beaver does just-in-time work. So that's really good for technician. For manager, let's pick a herding animal. So I would do elephant would be a good one, or even lion in that case. Any animal that lives in a group, uses group strategy, and has every member doing their thing. You could even say queen bee, where you have all the other workers under you.
This is awesome. So I don't, of course, I'm not going to ask you to walk us through like the whole process, right? But let's say, someone watching this video and say, oh yeah, I want to try this on for size, right? I want to call it lion and help me with my managerial stuff. What is the good way to just sort of a entry-level thing to get started?
So like just to get started on their own?
Yeah, I mean, if someone just wanted, okay, I want to try this queen.
So I would suggest then pick an animal that, even if it's one that we were just talking about. So visionary would be hawk. If you need to work on strategy, lion, beaver to get a bunch of work done at the very end at the last minute. And so pick the one you want to connect with and get a picture of it. Look up some stuff about it so you know a little bit more about its gifts. And then actually just meditate. Get into a meditative state and connect with it. Try to figure out, or try to feel, not figure out, let me change that. You want to feel what the world would look like through the eyes of that animal. And so you can just take yourself on a meditative journey to experience that. I think I'm having a connection problem. Oh no.
Okay. Where am I?
Oh, there we go.
Oh my goodness. I think I just, oh gosh, okay, let's see what happens. I
kept talking, so hopefully, hopefully what I said recorded.
Awesome. Well, we'll see how it goes. Thank you, Kelly.
I'll recap for you just real quick. I suggested, picking the animal. I gave a few suggestions like beaver, lion, and getting into a little meditative state and connecting with it and imagining what it would be like to see the world through their eyes. And then come back, and I didn't say this yet, so then come back and apply that to your business. So even with beaver, if beaver is a just-in-time worker, then print out a picture of a beaver and like talk to it and then say, I need your help to finish this project. Pretend to be a beaver finishing its dam while you finish your project. It's silly, but that's part of what makes it effective, is that it's fun, it makes you laugh, and it opens you up to all of that creativity.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for, just jumping in, and also for this great tip to get people started. So now you have talked about, people having their main spirit animal, right? And you also talk about using different animal for different purposes. Should you stick with so most of the time, should you stick with the perspective of your main spirit animal in just like, the day-to-day stuff?
Yes, that's right. So whatever your main power animal is, it's easiest to see the world from their perspective. And you also want to master that perspective. So often, like even visionaries, it's hard to get along in society sometimes, because if not everyone else can see that vision, translating it is really difficult. And so we end up trying to put ourselves in some box where we don't let ourselves see everything we naturally want to see. So I like to help people come out of that and really own their perspective. That's most important, is mastering your perspective. And then connecting with those others, or at the same time, connecting with those other perspectives so that when you do need to come down and focus on details, you can do that and not go crazy.
Yeah, I really like how you say master the perspective of your main spirit animal, because I think besides the benefits of really having that benefit of that particular perspective is that you really own up to your gift, and by stepping up and owning it, then like I said, right, this is your superpower, and unless you step up and claim it, it is hard for you to put it out into the world and really be confident enough to monetize it.
Absolutely, yeah. It just goes along perfectly with everything you do with your clients about getting them to own their gifts and be out there with them. And that's exactly what I like to do is just introduce them to that. So it's like, here's your spirit animal, here are your gifts, here's your perspective, and now go work on it. And it just to have that, it's one of the things that I love about working with spirit animals is that it gives us something concrete to relate to, but that's also fun. Mm-hmm. So it's concrete in that whenever I do feel claustrophobic, I'm spending too much time on details, I remind myself, okay, hawk, get back up there. Look at the big picture. And boom, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And then it's fun because I know I'm not a hawk. I know I'm not going to just go suddenly fly away, but it's fun to pretend.
Mm-hmm. And it's good to not always taking it so seriously, because you can then play out different scenarios and really consider things from a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you remember, like in the perspective calls, we did mouse one week, mm-hmm. and I commented then that was really hard for me. Mm-hmm. Going in and having the perspective of mouse for a week, I did feel claustrophobic. Mm-hmm. And then imagine if you're naturally a mouse person, mm-hmm. and then you go up in the air with hawk. Oh my gosh. It really helps create empathy as well. When you realize my spirit animals aren't their spirit animals and vice versa. So no wonder I'm making all of those people uncomfortable talking about the big picture all the time.
All right, the hawk is going to eat me.
Yeah, hawk's going to eat me. Or, oh my God, I'm afraid of heights. No,
exactly. Wow, this is a really, really great conversation, and I am so glad that you're able to take the time to spend it with us and introduce us to spirit animals and how to use them to change our perspective for both our life and our businesses. So Kelly, I know you have we have been talking about this power of perspective training, and I know you have retired this training, but you're reopening. Okay, there you are.
There we are. Oh.
My God. My Wi-Fi has been really acting up, and sorry about that. Kelly, I hope you fill in the blanks for me. I was just hoping that you would tell us a little bit more about this program, because I know you're reopening it for the people watching this interview.
Yes. So the Perspective Call series, we did it live over 8 weeks, and so now it's available as 8 separate recordings. And in each one, the first 7, I pick an animal and take you on a guided journey to connect with that animal and see a piece of the world through its eyes. And we talk about its gifts, some of its challenges, and how it actually sees the world. So I won't list all of the animals, but you've heard we did a few. We did weasel, mouse, and hawk. One other I will mention is lizard. I loved doing lizard because lizard can see colors that we aren't capable of seeing, and we connect with another animal who can see like that too. Lizard also has, it's not an eyeball, but cells on the top of its head that detect light. And so in that journey, we connect with all of those different ways of seeing. So we have 7 different animals, and then one where you connect with your own to really help you see the world through your own perspective and start to master it. So for people who want to get this program, they'll get all 8 of the calls. Each call is about an hour long, and it's like 20 minutes of the guided journey in it, and then plus the talking about what to expect and what to do now, what to do now that you're working with this animal for this week.
Yeah, and really how to use that perspective, and also a mini biology course.
Yes.
The thing on the head.
Yes, I love that part. For me, it's not just the spiritual stuff. It's all based originally in biology. And we are extrapolating the physical behaviors and characteristics of animals and turning them into, spiritual gifts for personal and professional development. And, my undergraduate degree is biological anthropology, and my master's degree is biology. So I love being able to put all of this in and include those spiritual tools there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you put your experience and knowledge into, all fuel into this work that you're doing, which is, completely different from what people think people having a biology education would be doing. But I think in the synergy that it makes it so unique and so, really so different and so interesting. Kelly, so I will post the link to this training.
Great.
Under the video, but can you tell us the URL to find this page?
Yes, it is thehiddenlife.com/perspective-calls. So thehiddenlife.com/calls.
Wonderful. And one last thing, Kelly, I know you have your spirit animal book coming up, and if people want to just stay in touch and find you when it comes out, where can they sort of find you to stay in touch?
They can go to thehiddenlife.com, and I don't have an opt-in on the home page, but if you go to any of the other pages, then they can sign up there. They'll be able to watch a recorded webinar right away on fear, and they'll get on my list and be able to find out as soon as the book comes out.
Wonderful.
And it's done being written. The writing is done.
Yay, congratulations. And I can't wait to have that book and that card deck out. I mean, the card deck, looking through all the art that has been trickling out, that you have been showing is going to be amazing.
Yeah. I'm so excited to be done with the writing, and it's all going to press in a few weeks and will be in print in January.
Oh, yay! Congratulations!
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so very much for sharing your perspective with us on Perspective.
Thank you, Ling. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I really hope that everybody will check out Kelly's training, because it's not like, the 7 simple steps to XYZ, but it will change the way you see things and how you use those 7 simple steps of XYZ. And that's the important part, because once you see things differently, you cannot go back.
That's very true. It's a good way of putting it. So yeah, it's not 7 easy steps, but yes, it will change your perspective of how to use those 7 easy steps.
All right. Well, thank you, Kelly, once again, and thank you, everybody, for watching this interview. Bye.
Thank you, Ling. Bye-bye.